Hey, you guys. Happy Sunday. Happy Sunday. Happy Sunday. All right. So I'm waiting for a client. I had to run into my office this morning to do a client. I'm actually in my Atlanta office. I haven't been in my Atlanta office all Texas. It look like I don't think I get a client here all year, but I'm here. All right. So while I'm waiting for my client, I thought let me go live and talk about what I posted the other day in reference to someone who had just went through a due diligence audit in January, and she ended up walking away with zero fines on her first time. And I personally talk to different tax pros daily in reference to due diligence letters, people who went through the examinations and now they have fines, and them seeking help on what to do after all the fines, or if they got fined, what's their next step. And so everybody at this point, if you're on my page or you've been on my page long enough, you know that my topic I talk about the most, whether I'm posting in Word, if I'm coming live, no matter what, is always due diligence for tax pros. And I'm real passionate about it because I've been through a lot of examinations, and I've been very fortunate outside of a lot of other tax pros that me and my team, we usually I say usually, we have walked away with, no fines every time. And so, I'm passionate about really teaching tax pros about due diligence. And because I talk about it so much and I have showed my records, I talk about my records. Of course, a lot of tax pros reach out. Oh my God, so many tax pros reach out in reference to it. And so many a lot of tax pros have reached out to me or posted that they passed their actual due diligence examinations, but with this particular person, she actually had the receipts. I'm really for the receipts. I know a lot of the IRS do not always give people a letter, but with her, she was able to get her letter, and so we have the receipts that she actually passed the examination. And so I know a lot of people are worried that they're going to have to go through an examination, or you went through one, you got fined. So I just kind of wanted to talk about what does it mean. Like with her, she went through the examination and she represented herself. She didn't call anybody to represent her. She took some of my classes when she was getting her files together. She reached out to me when she needed clarity on certain things. But all in all, she represented herself. She did her files on her own, and she walked away with zero fines. Now, is it good for, if you get selected for a due diligence examination, for you to represent yourself and not get representation? I got two sides of that. I feel like two different ways about it. I feel like if you are an experienced tax pro who maybe never went through an examination, but you think you are knowledgeable, or not even think, that you're confident that you're knowledgeable on due diligence, that you really believe in your whole heart that you know what due diligence is, you feel like you know what the IRS requires, and you are certain that you are meeting due diligence compliance, that you can represent yourself. I don't even really think the IRS meant for people to get representation. It's a industry standard, but a lot of people end up getting representation. So I think that just became, like anything else, a trend. When I first started going through my examination, I didn't even think about hiring anybody to represent me. I just knew what they wanted, and I just went through the process. And what if I had wasted my money and paid somebody? I ain't need them. So I think if you feel that confident, like somebody like me, then don't hire nobody. Don't waste your money. But what I do know is a lot of tax pros don't have a clue. Do not have a clue of what is required and definitely not doing what they're supposed to do to pass an examination. And so in those cases, I really believe you need someone to represent you, because you don't want to say the wrong things. You want to go in there, you might not get 0 fines, but you might not walk away with $40,000-$50,000 in fines. You might walk away with $10,000 in fines. You might walk away with $5,000 in fines. That a dollar amount in fines is a good dollar amount to walk away with, even if somebody represents you, because the average tax pro, and I'm going by, because everybody like to do these statistics. Hey Tiana, statistics, like where you get your statistics from? I get my statistics from real data that I utilize, like real people that I talk to, real people that I know have actually went through the examinations and actually been fined. The average tax pro who go through an examination, or I even know that went through an examination, the fines that they receive is $30,000 plus. You might have some people who every now and then might get under $30,000, but for the majority of tax pros to go through an examination, they literally get $30,000 plus in fines. And when I say $30,000 plus, I mean some of them get 40-some thousand, some of them get 50-some thousand. Some people get 60, like in fines. Like, it's for real. So for somebody to be able to go through it their first time and get 0 fines, that's, in our industry, I say unheard of, but it's not common. And so shout out to Latoya Brown, who just recently went through one, and she went, she got 0 fines. And I think she's been in the industry under 10 years. But I think what makes the big difference is she seeked out help, but even outside of the help, even when she reached out to me, it was clear that she was doing what she supposed to do. So it didn't take her a lot to make sure she was in compliance when it actually came out. And that's the difference. And that's why it's important that, you do take classes from people that actually know how to pass an examination. Not just people who went through the process. Now, I think people who went through the process can help you because they can tell you their experience. But you want to literally take classes from people who actually went through the process, people that represent people who've been through the process, and they're actually lowering their fines, or they're keeping them from getting fines. You want to get good insight so that you can make sure you pass. Now, for people who are going through the examinations and you're not passing, what I want to tell you is do an appeals. Even if you don't know who you're going to hire to represent you, make sure you get your appeals in before the deadline. Too many of y'all are not getting your appeals in, and then months are going by and now you're stuck with the fine. You need to get your appeals in by the deadline. And what I see a lot of people doing is the agent that actually did the examination and that you've been communicating with, you're trying to give the information to them. And if you can't get in contact with them, then you do not submit your appeals paperwork. I don't care if you get in touch with them or not. I wouldn't even trust them for real to make sure my paperwork is in. You need to make sure that you mail your appeals paperwork to whatever letter is on that paperwork. Okay, do not wait to hear from nobody. If you're not getting anybody to represent you to do your appeals at that moment, get your appeals paperwork in prior to that deadline. Do not worry about whether you talk to that person or not, because at the end of the day, the process is you are supposed to be able to talk to the supervisor and go over the fines, but in a lot of cases you never get to that process, and sometimes they will skip that process. And so if you're waiting for them to make sure you're good, then you might end up stuck with a fine, and that's what I see happening to a lot of people. So you need to make sure that you get your appeals paperwork in a timely manner. Do not wait. Don't be like, oh, they never answer the phone. I never could get back in contact with them. Good morning, tax fixer. I could never get back in contact with them, so I never turn my paperwork in. You're going to have a hard time. You're going to have to hire somebody to figure out if you can go back and do the appeals if you missed the deadline. So the best thing is to get the appeals paperwork in before the deadline, regardless if you talk to somebody or not. Because as long as you mail it off to the address on there, then you put your paperwork in. And then when it comes time for appeals, if you need to hire somebody to represent you during the appeals, then hire somebody to represent you. But do not wait until you talk to that agent. They just find you. They're not trying to reduce those fines for real. So you're trying to go to appeals. Good morning, Tiffany. You're trying to go to appeals to get those fines down. And a lot of people be taking the fines. And a lot of people be advising y'all to take the fines. Now, I know a lot of y'all do fraud. And we just keeping it real. Like, I know a lot of y'all do fraud. So a lot of y'all don't want to, if they gave you a fine, you just want to pay it. I mean, honestly, that's just up to you. For real, for real. Good morning. That's really up to you. But if you feel like they might have fined you and you feel like you really did what you was supposed to do, take that thing to appeals. Take it to appeals. Because I'm going to tell you this. A lot of IRS agents are not knowledgeable on due diligence. They're not. A lot of due diligence agents who are doing the examination is not 100% knowledgeable on due diligence. And we're talking about the actual law around due diligence. A lot of y'all are being fined because they saying y'all didn't ask certain questions. Good morning, Tamiko. You didn't ask certain questions or whatever. But did you ask some questions? Can you show that, you know, you did what you're supposed to do when it comes to these credits, or showing that your clients qualify for those credits? If you did, and you don't have any other discrepancies, and they're just saying, oh, you didn't ask a certain question, then go do an appeals. Because what people don't know is not necessarily about what all the questions you really ask. Because the IRS can say you should have asked something in particular, but you didn't ask that because you didn't think about asking that. You not thinking about asking a question don't mean you didn't do your due diligence. You possibly didn't do your due diligence because you didn't have any questions documented, period. Now, if you didn't have no questions documented, period, that's one thing. But if you actually had questions, you actually had notes, you actually, you know what I'm saying, did additional inquiries, then you might can win the appeals. I seen somebody say that they said they didn't have birth certificates, and they fined them because they didn't have birth certificates. But they didn't list birth certificates on the 8867. So the question is, why did they find them? Because they didn't have birth certificates. So a lot of times these agents are just finding you, and they're saying you didn't do certain things, but those certain things was not within the law, not required within the law. And then in those cases, you might not have, should have been fined. I've been through appeals twice. For those who might didn't know, I've been through appeals twice. One time for me personally, they tried to find me $6,000, and some tax pros, they got fined $6,000, baby. They would be like, "Oh, I'll pay that." I was like, "Nope, I'm paying that either." Me and my team is a no fine team. We're not trying to get no fines. I don't care how much it is. It's $1,000 unless I feel like I slacked. We are team zero fines. We're not trying to take none of their fines. So they tried to fine me $6,000, and I took it to appeals and got it to zero. And I always talk about my preparer, which is my best friend, who got a $47,000 fine, and we weren't taking that either, and we took it to appeals, and we got that fine to zero. And the reason why we was able to get those fines to zero is because we did our due diligence. Meaning, we asked the questions, we documented, we asked additional inquiries. If we said we had a document on 8867, we had those documents. All our files was uniform, standard. We touched on the Schedule C's for the people who had Schedule C's. We did everything we were supposed to do. And the reason why we were able to get our fines reduced to zero was because it was clearly showed in each one of our files. Now, when we got fined, the IRS was saying things that we should have asked. And for me, I felt like everything they said was valid. But just because everything they said was valid did not mean that, boom, we should have been fined. Because we did our due diligence. And that's where the word well-informed tax pro come into place. Every tax pro is different. Every tax pro is not going to maybe require or need certain things answered from every client. It might not be necessary based off other information that's in the return. And because of that, if I can show, or if you can show, that you did your job by qualifying or showing that your clients qualified for those credits, even though some of the things they might say could have been things you could have asked or did, it doesn't mean that you didn't do your due diligence, which means it doesn't mean they can fine you. Due diligence is about what does the law say and what do you actually show. And in this case, I didn't see Latoya files when she actually submitted her files to the IRS. Again, she did her own stuff. She only got clarity from me and took my classes. So I can't take credit for doing the work. She did the work. So kudos to her. And by the way, she's going to be at the due diligence boot camp. So you will hear directly from her mouth her own experience. But everybody's experience is different. And so I think the reason why I'm doing a lot of boot camps, the reason why I have virtual trainings, why I train from different perspectives of, due diligence is because it's a lot to it. I don't believe you could just take one class. I don't think you should just take my class. I think you should take multiple classes. I think you should definitely take the things that's on the IRS website to get perspective, to get what system you want to utilize to make sure that you're compliant. I know for sure what I teach in all my classes are what you need to pass. And if you follow that framework that I teach, and I'm talking about you really follow the framework, don't be leaving nothing out, then I know for sure you can get zero fines. A lot of times people take the class and they're not really dissecting the information, or they don't understand the information. Okay? Then, it can be an issue. Davina said, we can't make the in-person in May. Will you be offering a deep dive virtual course? So yes. Now I'm not promoting it because I don't want to get people confused. I tried to do that one time where I did try to advertise the in-person and the virtual. I don't want to get people confused. So I know that for the boot camp, a lot of y'all can't make the in-person. I am not going to even have all the seats for y'all. I think we got 150 seats. So 150 people can get in the room. But I will be doing a virtual one that's similar to the in-person one. Maybe not with the panels. I don't know if I'm going to do the panels or not. But I know it'll be straight teaching virtually from me, not just my 2-hour class. It will be 3 days, just like the in-person. The in-person is 2 days, but the virtual will be 3 days, so that I can do 2 hours a day. But I will have one in May. Not May. I'm having the virtual in June. The virtual one is I don't know the exact date. It's June. I got it on my calendar though. I'm just not promoting it. But y'all want to put it on y'all calendar. Hold on. The virtual one is for. Let me see. I think it's June the 22nd, 23rd, 24th. That's the one I'm going to have for virtual. I'm not releasing the link to the virtual one until June the 1st. And that's the day after the in-person. So I'm not going to even, I'm thinking about just going ahead and get the link if any of y'all want to go ahead and pay for it. But I won't promote it on my social media page. But I don't have it right now. I'm only worried about the in-person right now. And if you, because I'm really going to talk about the boot camp, but since we on here, let's talk about the boot camp. So the boot camp in May, if anybody wants to know, like, if anybody wants to know what to expect from the in-person boot camp. So the in-person boot camp is going to be lit. Okay, I'm just going to let y'all know that in-person boot camp is about to be all the way lit. The virtual experience is going to be good because, you know, you're going to learn. But the in-person experience is going to be something you're going to always remember. For one, I believe in giving value. So whatever dollar amount you spending with me, you're going to be like, girl, you should have charged more. That's what it's going to be. You're going to be like, girl, you should have charged more. Because that's the type of experience I'm going to give you. It's going to be an experience to where I'm teaching. A lot of times when you go to conferences, they're not necessarily teaching. I'm going to teach my framework, which I don't necessarily teach it that way when I do the virtual trainings. Okay, not the virtual boot camp, but the virtual trainings. All my stuff is labeled different for a reason. Okay, so the boot camps are a more intense thing. So I'm teaching. I'm going to teach. And we're going to talk about understanding the credits. We're going to talk about the notes and the questions and additional inquiries. We're going to talk about the outreach, but I break it down in 2-hour increments. So for 6 hours, I'm going to teach. Now, last year when I did the boot camp, I taught more than 6 hours, and it was just real good and interactive. But because we got a bigger crowd, we're gonna have a bigger crowd and more seats, it's not gonna be able to be as intimate as we had last year, but it's gonna be still the feel of being intimate, right? And so I'm teaching for 6 hours, not 6 hours straight. I'm going to spread the 6 hours over the 2 days. Okay. And then I brought in panelists. I call them speakers. And because I'm giving them an opportunity to not just us ask them questions, but them really to give you their feedback in reference to whatever area they're on the panel for. And I was strategic in who I chose. Now, mind you, I reached out to all, just FYI, all the people that is known in the tax industry for due diligence. I reached out to all of them. Okay, I'm really about who I say I am. Okay, and who I say I am is I really want y'all to learn. And it's not about just learning from me. It's about making sure you learn so that you don't miss the beat when it comes to being compliant. Because the IRS not playing with us. So some people didn't respond, and that's cool because they probably didn't expect for me to reach out to them. And some people not available. But the people that are available that you see on the flyer, I was strategic again in picking who I wanted to actually hear from. And the reason why is because I don't want nobody just because they're popular or because that's what, people expect. I chose the people because it's certain things I want you to get from them, that I know that possibly can help you beat your audits, in addition to what I'm teaching. And we're not teaching from just the standpoint of just the files, or what you got to have in the files. We're teaching from the standpoint of it all, meaning what does it take to be compliant. That's number one. That's top priority. But then two, what's happening with a lot of y'all is a lot of y'all clients are getting audited. Knock on wood, I ain't had none get audited, but I know they can. You know what I'm saying? And that's a part of due diligence outreach. And it's not because it's us, it's because they're claiming certain type of dependence. And a lot of your clients are getting audited, and because you wasn't trained on due diligence, period, and you wasn't trained on compliance with your clients at all, a lot of y'all do not know how to help your clients. And so I want to bring people to the forefront who actually does that work. Meaning they can give you insight of when your client get audited, what are those things that you can do, right? Give you some insight of what the IRS is looking for. Like I got tax fit, so she used to be in the auditor department for a long time. I got Malicia. She worked for the IRS for a long time too, and she did due diligence examinations. I got Yvette. She's an enrolled agent. They work with people, clients, on a regular basis to help them on their end. And as tax pros, you might not do tax resolution, but you're going to be a darn good tax pro if you know what is required to help your clients in the event of an audit. So I want to bring that perspective. I'm bringing the perspective of women who have been through the examination, whether they failed or whether they walked away with 0 fines. I'm bringing them to the forefront as well, because I don't want you just to hear from me. I want you to hear from multiple people. My bestie, Deontay Blunt, she's been through all of the examinations with me. You know what I'm saying? I haven't went through all of them, but me and her and another preparer have went through them. You hear me all the time. Listen to her perspective. She the one that got the $47,000 fine, even though we got to 0. What was her experience? How did she feel? I can't tell you how she feels. She can only tell you how she felt. What was the relief she felt once she got to 0? She talked with the IRS agent more than I talked with them. What was their conversations like? So I want y'all to hear from that perspective. She's been through 3 examinations. She's walked away with 0 fines on all 3 of her examinations. What does that look like? Hear from her standpoint. Again, we got D. Phoebe. We got Dr. Amber. I'm probably pronouncing their names wrong, but Dr. Lacey. We got Latoya, who just recently went through one. So we have an array of people that's going to be there to be able to help you. Dr. Cosette, she's helped so many people in reference to being able to help their clients and just putting out different workshops and webinars in reference to this. She just did a webinar at the beginning of the year, at the end of the year, in reference to bringing in someone, an agent, not just a federal agent, to talk about that part of it. And so I just think this is going to be just everything when it comes to tax pros and compliance. And not only that, I got surprises. Okay, I'm all about making sure we have a good time, that we're getting educated, that we're getting value, and that you're getting your money's worth, period. And so the boot camp is going to be really, really good. It's May the 30th, 31st. Mind you, you can play around and don't get no ticket if you want to. Do not be in my inbox when we sold out. Okay? Do not be in my inbox asking me, can I add a seat? I'm not adding any seats. 150 tickets. That's what we're going for. I can't have a real intimate room like I had last year with the 30, 40 people. But 150, I know I needed to make it bigger. You know what I'm saying? So I added, 150 seats. Shamarian asked me, let me see what she's saying. May I ask about the due diligence blueprint animation, please? Is this for a beginner to the industry, someone who doesn't have a PTN but is getting one soon or experience at all? Shamarian, I think it's good for any level of a tax pro. Okay. Now, the only thing with someone who don't have experience is you haven't took a tax class yet. You don't have a P10. I'm not 100% sure that you're gonna understand what we're talking about, right? Because if you ain't did a tax return, you don't know nothing about the credits or whatever. We'll be talking in another language to you because you haven't experienced anything. Now, is it a good thing for you to come out? I think so, because it gives you the opportunity to not only learn about due diligence, but you will be able to network with other tax pros. You might find something that you're looking for in reference to, you growing as a new PTN holder. But I'm not going to lie and just say, come because I just want to sell a ticket. I'm going to be honest with you. If you ain't really never prepared a tax return, or you don't know what the credits and the qualifications is, then it's going to be foreign to you. It might be over your head if you've never attended one before. And then talk about mentorship, because I know that's going to come up because everybody always asks me about mentorship. So mentorship, when it comes, I don't really mentor. I think what I teach is good for brand new preparers. Like if you ain't never prepared a tax return or whatever, my mentorship is not good for you. Okay, I'm not teaching you how to get an EFIN. I'm not teaching you how to register for no P10. I'm not teaching the basic brand new type things of tax preparation. My mentorships is primarily for people who already have been in the industry, maybe I want to say at least 3 years, and you don't have to have a big clientele, but you gotta have an idea of how the industry works. Now I do, teach the foundational part of it. I do teach the foundational. I'm trying to see what what's the best. I'm reading. See, that's why you don't read nothing while you online, okay? I'm about to tell you what she's saying. But anyway, yeah, I'm not a beginner mentor. Like if you brand new to the industry, you just getting your PTN, my stuff that I teach might be over your head. Now I do teach the basic foundation of starting a tax business. It's okay, girl. I'm gonna answer you when I get off, though. But yeah, I don't really mentor new people. You got to be at least 3 years in, all the way established. Okay, and if you all the way established and you been in, you got a whole lot of people under you, you definitely need my mentorship. Also, people who you might not have a lot of clients, but I can teach you how to get clients. I could teach you how to be compliant. I could teach you about tax law. I could teach you those things that's gonna, make you a better tax pro. Because everybody just think I teach due diligence. I teach it all for real. Due diligence is just my niche or whatever. So I think that's it. Again, shout out to Latoya for her 0 fines. Everybody, when y'all, if you're watching the replay, drop congrats Latoya in the comments, because she just walked away with 0 fines. Shout out to Latoya. She did take my classes. I remember her when she reached out to me. As a lot of people reach out to me though, but I remember her when she reached out to me. She really just wanted to talk to me. I was like, "Girl, I'm gonna send you this link because I work with somebody that can help you." I was going into tax season. I felt like I was too busy to answer anybody that had a script for anybody to inbox me about it. But for some reason, the spirit led me to let me talk to her. I was getting ready to host a class, I think, that night for free, and then I had 2 paid classes within that next week. And I was telling her, like, I think if you take these classes, you're gonna be okay. But if you don't feel like you're okay, then hire somebody, or reach out to the person that I'm recommending. I was trying not to, whatever. But I gave her a lot of insight, a lot of tips. I told her exactly what to expect. I told her what her file should look like. She took the classes. The classes went into more detail or whatever. In the midst of it, you know how people do. She always be like, "I'll pay you if you need me to." But, I don't nickel and dime people. So she'll ask me questions as she was getting her files done via inbox. I answer her and send her a little voice message to tell her, yay, nay, this is what you do, this is what you need to think about. And I'm just excited that she was able to walk away with 0 fines. That's a big deal. She didn't want to brag, but I think that's bragging rights. You know what I'm saying? She walked away with 0 fines. I don't take credit for doing her files. She did her own files. I don't take credit for, her representation with the IRS. That was her, all her. But I'm glad that the information that I was able to provide for her put her in position to walk away with fines. And so I'm excited for her to be on a panel. I'm excited for her to to be able to have this thing. I'm excited for her to be able to teach other people, you know what I'm saying, about, her experience and like information and insights that the IRS gave her. And so people don't think that you can represent yourself and walk away with 0 fines. I think people think I be lying, but I know they know I don't be lying because I be showing y'all the proof. So I don't know. But I also think it's just good to know and see, somebody doing it. A lot of y'all might have walked away with 0 fines, but you did not get the letter. I'm going to recommend, I think I told her to, make sure y'all get the change letter. Okay? If you get 0 fines, it's a no change letter that they are supposed to give you. Make sure you get your no change letter. You need that for real, because when you get ready to go through examinations again, because they will come back again if you're still doing the same type of returns, then you're able to let them know that, you've been through this before. I don't pass. Why y'all coming back? So if you're watching the replay, I kind of went, talked about a little stuff here, there, everywhere. We talked about a little bit of everything. But if you're watching the replay, drop a replay in the comments. If you can make it, I don't care where you live, if you can make it to Atlanta, Georgia on May the 30th and 31st, I'm trying to tell you, baby, you're going to walk away with plenty of knowledge when it comes to compliance as a whole, not just due diligence. But not only that, baby, you're going to walk away with good content. You're going to walk away with fun. You're going to from having fun. You're going to walk away with building real relationships. Anybody been to any of my events the last year or so, me and my bestie and my sister, baby, we the realest. Okay, we ain't got time for the place. What you see is what you get. What you see is what you get. We ain't with that bougie stuff. We are about making sure you know what you need to know, and we're about you having some fun while you're doing it. Okay, that's what we about over here, baby. That's what we about over here. So I hope y'all can make it. But again, if you're watching the replay, say replay in the comments. And if you're watching, make sure y'all say congrats to LaToya with her 0 fines. Okay, Toya, with her 0 fines. Congratulations, baby girl. And Nicole, I'm getting ready to call you right now before my clients come in. See y'all later. Bye.